So any questions or problems from last session? Because I have reviewed all of the things that we learned. Okay, so let's learn a new candlestick. And I'm going to send the videos later because the videos are very large. We have to compact them first and then we should send it. So the next candlestick is called the continuation candlestick. But something that I have to tell you is that the London server is much better for candlesticks. Okay, so continuation candlestick. You see, sometimes in the market, we have 3 or 4 candles that decline like this, or they go up. And we probably have like 2 of these examples in a week. How do I identify them? I think it's called 3 soldiers or 3 crews. In the book, it was named like that, but it doesn't matter. Just based on what it looks like, we're going to identify the pattern. All right. So at this part of this candle that you see, first of all, this candlestick is a descending continuation candlestick. You see that? It's a very powerful candlestick, and it will be performed too. It has a big body. The body is very big, and the shadow is almost smaller than the body. If you take a look at this, the shadow of this candlestick is smaller than the body. Let me show it to you. I'm talking about this candlestick. So whenever you see this candlestick in weekly time frame, it doesn't really matter what time frame you're looking at. But in the weekly chart, I know that that whole week I'm going to have a decline and a downward movement this week. So memorize this candlestick. That when your candlestick looks like this, the body is big and the shadow is smaller compared to the body. And it's at the top of your trend. And it causes a downward movement. It depends on how your candlestick looks like. What I mean by that is that, you see the candlestick that is next to it is an ascending candlestick. The body of this candlestick has gone further than the body of this candlestick, and it has been completed below that. And it has caused a decline in a descending continuation candlestick. So if you look at this candlestick here, below the body of this white candlestick here was completed above the previous one, and it wasn't able to cause a decline here. So what is our point? There are 2 points. One of them is that the candlestick has to be, we have 3 points. The first is that the candlestick has to be big, and then the shadow has to be smaller than the body, and this is a must. The bottom part here has to be completed below the previous candlestick. So the next candle has to be descending. That is the rule. Up until the pivot. So where is our pivot here? It's right here. We have one pivot there and another one at this area. So look at this candlestick here. That is our 50-50 candlestick. You're glitching, excuse me. I will change my connection. Okay, the class is being recorded. Okay. So this is our 50-50 candlestick. And when do we say that it's a continuation candlestick? When it's not completed inside a pivot. So this pivot is not completed inside a pivot. So the next candlestick will be a continuation candlestick. You see, I have gained profits off of these two candlesticks easily. It gives me a descending candlestick, first of all. You see, whenever we see this candlestick, it is giving us a descending signal. And it's going to come down up until the pivot. So is it completed inside the pivot? No, it's not. So this week I'm going to have a descending signal as well. But we also have had a Fibonacci here. This is the Fibonacci. And the price is, you see, the candlestick was completed below 23 level. So that is a continuation candlestick. But how far is it going to go? Up until the next pivot. And the next pivot is at 38 level. And what has happened there is that we have a continuation candlestick there. And it has stopped the market. So you have a sideways trend for a week. Have I told you where the sideways trend is? Have I told you about the central pivots? I think I haven't. Please remind me to talk about that next week. Because always 38 level gives you a sideways trend. But forget about that now. So you see the candlestick here, this one, has to have the factors that I talked about. And then it will be performed. Another thing is right here, this candlestick. This candlestick's shadow, let me delete these first. This one here. Its shadow is completed below the other one. And the new candlestick has started from here. So when this shadow here, that is almost equivalent to this point, the only thing that you have to do is to put a sell limit there. If it's open, you see, if it goes further than this area, you're going to have a spike, a descending spike. Because that is the rule. Another example, excuse me. Please repeat. The reversal candlestick hasn't been performed here, right? Yes, that's true. And why is that? Please mute your microphone. Okay. So you see, because it was on the 38 level of Fibonacci and it should have retraced, but it didn't have the final factor. I said that it has to open the shadow from the top, and that was our final confirmation. And another thing was that the first collision was with the 38 level. And please remind me to talk about this next session. The rule is that you were going to have a sideways trend for a week. There's a formula in the market that when 2 weeks or 3 weeks we have a good trend and a good market, we're going to have a sideways trend for a week. And how do we know that? How do we know if we're going to have a sideways trend this week or not based on the overall Fibonacci? But I'm going to talk about this next session. Please remind me to talk about that because I will forget. So it's on April 22nd, 218. I will talk about this and tell you why we've had a sideways trend here. It's unrelated to the thing that we're going to talk about today, so I'll talk about it next week. Another example, let's move on to another chart. We have so many of these examples here. You see, this is because of the news that was published yesterday. I'm not sure what the news was, but it must have been very important. So let me find examples. Let me find the examples for you. The candlestick that I just taught you gives you very good signals, and you can take orders with heavy lot sizes. You haven't had one of those this week. I was checking the market and I didn't see any examples. Excuse me, I think we have one in the gold chart. No, this isn't a candlestick. You see, this is a descending signal for us. I'm not sure who was looking at the charts last night, but I lost 3 or 4 pips last night. You see, this candlestick here that had given me the buy signal, I started buying. But then it declined. I saw that it was weak. And this candle had to cause an upward movement immediately, but it couldn't do that. And I saw that it has touched this area. So I exited and started selling. And I lost a little bit of money, but after that I took the right order. So this candlestick, you have to memorize them. Whenever in the market, if you see them, if you see them anywhere on the market, each one of these candlesticks have their own special formula. For example, this candlestick is completed next to a candlestick base. It's neither at the top or bottom of the market. It's exactly next to 3 or 4 candlesticks in a base. So memorize this. I'm not talking about that area. I'm just telling you to memorize this. This is a spike. And 2 or 3 hours ago, it gave me a sell signal and I put my take profit here. That is the formula. And this is like a stepway here. It's like an L shape. And the candlestick that was completed here was completed inside this base here. You see that? So this is very important. When this candlestick is completed inside this kind of base and it is a kind of an L shape, it is telling you that you're going to have a spike. It means that it's going to keep on going down and down until we have a swing high or a reversal candlestick. I'm not sure where I had put my take profit, but you have to still keep on selling here. You're going to have a decline up until a swing high or a reversal candlestick is produced. When that happens in your 4-hour time frame, when a reversal or a swing high candlestick, which is reliable, is completed in your 4-hour time frame, you should stop selling because it's going to be reversed. You see, in the gold chart, we have one example in here. You see the spike there? And it's almost the same in here too. But we've had an L shape here. And we have many examples of this in the market. You have to memorize these. There are about 7 or 8 patterns. And you have to memorize them. It's either this one or this one or this one, or it's this one. All of them are the same. Hi, Mr. Zara. Welcome to the class. Excuse me, what were you talking about at the beginning of the class, because I wasn't in the class? Mr. Zara, I will send you the video tonight. Please watch that. Because I can't review the things that we talked about. Okay. Okay, so this candlestick here, please memorize it. If you see it, you can start selling easily and safely. This candlestick here is our 50-50 candlesticks, and if it's not completed inside the pivot, it's a continuation, and it gives me a descending signal. Locate the pivot here. It wasn't completed inside the pivot, so it's a continuation candlestick. So you should exit here and start selling here, exit again, and wait if the price goes up until here. If it breaks the pivot, you can start selling again. And the pivot is right here. So if it reaches this place, it's going to stop. And if it goes further than that, it's a breakout of a swing low pivot. And your swing low pivot overlaps your last pivot. In your uptrend here, you have a continuation candlestick. It has no difference with the downtrend. They are the same. See, in here, in an uptrend, we've had this example, and the uptrend is like a stepway here. But a better example of a stepway, this is a spike or a waterfall pattern. But take a look at these uptrends here. These are all continuation candlesticks. You see, when this one is completed, the next one is still a continuation. But you should exit at this point because it's a little bit suspicious. It was equivalent to these ones. If this is opened as well, you can start buying again. And then find your swing low and exit at this point again. Or at this point, this candlestick here. It's the same as this one. So you can see that we've had a very visible decline. So try to draw your Fibonacci whenever you see a swing high candlestick to know when you should exit and enter. This is your 89 level of Fibonacci here. But let's see if you've had pivots here or not. No, you haven't. Excuse me. No, you've had pivots here. The pivots were right here. It's on your 89 level. So the market at the moment, if we draw the Fibonacci, it's our 79. It's the 79 line here. So it's going to stop here. It's going to come up to here and then stop. Up until here, we're going to have a reversal. And when that happens, the final reversal is right here. Isn't it going to reach the 100 level? Not right now. When you have a breakout, it's going to reach the 100 level. What do you mean by a breakout? I'm talking about the Fibonacci breakout. You see, you have a 78 and 89 level right here. So they have to be broken first, and then it will reach the 100 level. But in here, we have a very strong and powerful pivot base. And it's only going to come up until here only. And it's in this area that you're going to have a reversal or a swing high candlestick that causes a reversal. Excuse me, in here, if we imagine that it retraces, the swing low here is more powerful than the previous one. Is that correct? You see, you don't have a downtrend in your overall trend. But the top one, I'm talking about the other one. Yes, that one. The swing high here was higher than that. No, that is finished. That trend is finished. You have to consider from this part of the market. This is a new beginning for you. That was in the past, and it's finished. You shouldn't pay attention to it anymore. This is a new beginning for you. The swing lows have been moved again, and you've had a trend line here that has been broken. And last night I started selling at this point. I was buying, but then I lost a lot of money, and then I closed and sold. I suddenly realized that the swing lows are being formed lower than each other, and I saw that it's very weak, so I started selling. Excuse me. How do we know if the previous one is over or not? You see, whenever your swing lows are moved, you see, in here you have a new swing low, and this is higher than the other one. So it tells you that you have an uptrend. You see, in here, this swing low is below this one, and it's giving me a warning. It had to be above the previous one, but it's below this. So it is telling me that I'm going to have a decline. You see, it has a fractal. It should have a fractal here as well, and it's telling me that I have a confirmation of a downtrend. And you can gain many profits off of this if you realize from the beginning that you're going to have a downtrend. Always try to have 2 or 3 panels. In one of them, you should do a long-term trading. In the other one, you should do mid-term trading. And the last one, you can do scalp trading. Because if you make mistakes in your scalp tradings, the other 2 will cover that for you. Complying with these rules is very difficult, but it's the only way to be successful. You see this example here, this pattern. How do I put it? You see, after every decline that you have, and you have a big candlestick, keep this in mind like this. It's going to retrace when you have a swing high or a reversal candlestick. So up until we have a swing high or a reversal candlestick, you don't see any. You see in here, you don't have any swing high candlesticks. You're going to have a downtrend, but the swing high is right here, and it has caused an upward movement here. It's the same at this point too. Up until I see a swing high or a reversal candlestick, I can't say that it's going to go up. This candlestick is not completed here yet. It could be completed as a swing high candlestick, and then we can rely on that candlestick and it's going to go up. So you should look at this market watch here. Always look at it. There is an indicator that will put the market watch in your screen. I will send it on the group. But in your daily time frame, it's the same. You see this? This is the candlestick that I just talked about. These candlesticks are very good for gaining profits. And you can gain a lot of profit too. Excuse me, is it a 50-50 candlestick? No, it's a continuation candlestick. I don't know what it's called in the book. I have called it continuation candlestick. Excuse me. There are different brokers, right? Yes, we use the London servers, and the London server produces the most powerful candlesticks. Thank you. Okay, so in here, I saw something. This candlestick here, I call it a stepway pattern. You see that? It has, you see, it's like a hook here. So this candlestick here, you should pay attention to it. Is the next candle going to cause a downward movement? No, it's not. So I know that it's going to cause an upward movement. In my mind, I know that I'm going to have a stepway pattern here. So you have to memorize them. You see this here? You have to memorize them. Please draw them on the paper. But usually the maximum decline is on 50 level. And if you pay attention to it, you see a very powerful pivot base there. So memorize it like this. It's like a reverse L shape, or it's like a hook. So this candle is the one that you're going to pay attention to. So, for example, if we're going to have a downtrend, have I had anything like this in the market before or not? If you had, well, that is going to happen because everything in the market keeps on repeating. You see this stepway pattern here has been performed very well, and it has ended right here. So your stepway patterns are going to go up until 3 or 4 candlesticks. Can you please repeat this? The stepway trend, you mean? Yes, the one that you just said about the hook. You see, we've had some patterns in the market and they keep on repeating. And you can call it. I'm not sure what it's called in the book, but it's called, you see, it's a little bit crooked. You see it? It has an angle. Then that if you have an uptrend, or if you had a spike there, you could have said that it's the first leg of your L shape, but I call it the stepway trend. They usually it reaches the 50 level But it doesn't decline suddenly and then retrace. It moves very slowly and reaches 50 level and then starts producing a base. And that is what forms this pattern for us. You see, we've had examples in here. So it has gone up slowly, then it has gone down, and then it has retraced back up. You see that it has moved very slowly. We have this in the opposite trends as well. You see, for example, in here, it's a step way and it has moved very slowly and then it declines suddenly. So it's the same in the opposite direction. You see the step ways here? We consider this as a, but it all goes back to the candlesticks that I've taught you and the continuation candlesticks. You see, for example, in here, look at this candlestick here. When this candlestick goes further than this pivots and it opens them and gets completed like this, you're not going to have any downtrends. It has gone further than the pivots and it's giving you an ascending signal. So you're going to have an uptrend. And it's the same at the bottom of the market. We have examples of this anywhere in the market. For example, in here, you have this candlestick here and it has gone further than this area. So it's going to go up. You have another one here, this one. It has gone further than this, so it's going to go up. Excuse me. Is it important if it's empty or not? No, you see, if you have an uptrend, it's going to be ascending. So in your ascending trend, it's going to be ascending, and in your downtrend, it's going to be white. It's not like that. It's going to be reversed. You see, I can't teach you this another way. Consider this as a neck. And the base is right here. Your candlestick base is here. So in here, if your price goes further than that, it's going to go up. Or for example, in the market itself, if the price goes further than this, I'm going to have a downtrend. If it goes down, what if it goes further than that from the top? It doesn't make any difference. Then it's going to be an uptrend. You see, these are independent signals for you. You see, when you're online on the market, you're always busy. Because at least one of these formulas that I told you about is visible. You could have swing high reversal, 50-50 continuation engulfing candlestick. Or you could have stepway trend. Excuse me. I can't really hear you. I think my connection is weak. Okay. Anything else? Okay. So in the daily time frame, The gold chart gave me a descending signal, and I knew that I'm going to have a downtrend the whole day. But because it was inside the trend line, we should have moved on to the shorter time frames and check that again. I think your internet connection is weak, because my internet connection is not. I can't hear you. I know, but I said that my internet connection is strong. I think your internet connection is weak. It's good now, but it keeps on glitching. Okay. If you didn't understand it, I will repeat it for you. So is that clear? Did you understand the subject today? Let me move on to another chart. Excuse me. When the students' microphones are unmuted, it will make the connection weaker. Yes, that's true. Okay, so whenever you want to talk, you can unmute yourself. But now please mute yourself. Okay, so in here we have a continuation candlestick. And it has came down up until the pivots. I have one swing low pivot here. So I know that it's going to come down to here. And I have another swing low there. So I have two pivots at this area. And the next one is here. So I will have a reversal here when I get a reversal candlestick here. So for example, in here, we have a reversal candlestick and it's inside the pivot. So it has caused an upward movement. But you see, I told you not to mistake this. I told you that we have the final confirmation when this area is open and we have had pivots here. So don't be deceived by this. You're going to have a reversal at the bottom when you have no pivots in here. And another thing that I can teach you is that if you're in the daily time frame and you have a descending candlestick, when that is over and it's completed and it's not inside the pivot, you should look at the daily time frame. You should see in what time frame you are. If you are in the daily time frame, the whole day you're going to have a downtrend. So when can you see these candlesticks? In the daily time frame on 4:30 a.m. and the normal market it's on 3:30 a.m. The new candlestick is going to get started. In 4-hour time frame, one of them is on 9:30 and 1:30 and the other one is on 5:30 p.m. Another example. You see, for example, this one. This is the candlestick that I told you about. You've had a descending signal here, and it's inside the pivot, and now it has retraced. So in what time frame are we in? In the 4-hour time frame, and it's going to be over in 15 minutes. So I will analyze it. If this candlestick is completed like this, the next candlestick is going to go up. Up until where? Until here. One of them is here, and the other one is right there. Excuse me, isn't it going to come down to the swing low that we have at the bottom? Yes, it is. It's going to reach it and then go up. but I think it's the 78th level of Fibonacci here. I'm talking about the one that has gone further than it. Is it the 78th level? Yes. So this will be your 89 level. Exactly. Okay. So you've had other examples here. I'm putting an emphasis on this. These candlesticks are things that you can get very good signals from. Don't be afraid. I'm telling you about the factors. If it has the factors, you can rely on it. Don't be afraid if you lose 5 pips. Don't close your whole account. Don't be deceived by them. Don't ruin your account. You see, in the 15 minutes time frame, I have an ascending signal. So if I had seen this candlestick at the beginning, I would have known that I'm going to have an uptrend. So it's going to come up to here. So in shorter time frames, this candlestick here is completed inside the pivot. It's our 50-50 candlestick that is completed in a pivot. And this is where the pivot is. You see, it has gone further than it, so it's a continuation candlestick. You've had a minor retracement here because you've had a swing low pivot here, and it's hitting your price. You see, the buy order that I have opened here is from the past, but don't start buying suddenly, because you have to wait for this area to be broken. When that happens, you can start buying then. But don't rush into anything. The market is always here. But it's your money that is not always there. You could lose money if you don't pay attention to these points. And it all depends on how quick you are. You should be fast. You shouldn't work slowly and keep on looking for pivots. I have a good connection now. I moved my laptop again. Okay, you see, in this candlestick in here, we've had a reversal upon this area. And then it has gone up. Any questions or problems here? Any questions? Excuse me. Please speak louder. Can you hear me now? Yes, I can. In the continuation candlestick, what is our exit and enter points? Are we going to talk about that? I talked about the entering point. So we should wait for the candlestick to be completed and then enter? No, you see, for example, look at this candlestick. Let me find it. Not this one. It was almost like this. But let me find the exact example. This one. Whenever you see this candlestick, start selling. Because there's nothing here to be opened from the top or bottom. So it's not possible that the next candlestick gives us a reversal and go up. The next candlestick will reach the pivot and then it will have a reversal. Then you can exit. You see, take one order based on this safely. You see, if you see this pattern here, you can start taking orders, and when it hits the pivot, you can exit. And you can even scalp trade at the pivot, but I don't recommend that, because it usually has many fluctuations. Thank you. You're welcome. Excuse me. Do you recommend for us to open an account and then leave it? For example, in last week in the pound chart, I started buying in the 4-hour time frame, but then it retraced. You mean this? Or here? No, the first thing that you showed. Yes, that place. Why didn't you exit? Yes, that was my mistake. I thought that it was going to go up. No, you see, the trends have limitations. If you don't exit, you're going to lose. So your plan was not very well. You should put your take profit based on your pivots. You see, you've had swing lows there. So it was obvious that it was going to be reversed at that point. So I think if I'm online on the market, that's better for me because every time that I do a long-term trade, it retraces and then I lose. You see, you should put your take profits, and it's very important how you put it there. And you should be online on the market too. You see, for example, a month ago I was very busy and I was losing a lot of money because I wasn't online on the market. And I would, for example, lose exactly at this point. So you should keep on checking the market because sometimes news is published or something happens that makes the trend go faster. So it's going to reach the first swing low there, right? No, you should draw your Fibonacci here because you're going to have reversals in here. You see, the swing highs are formed above each other. You see, for example, this candlestick is very important that you should check your market watch. 5 minutes later, you have to wait for 5 minutes to see how it gets completed. Please, let's move on to the 1 minute time frame. This is your reversal candlestick, and it's ascending too. Let me close that. You see, I have gained my profit here and I have exited. There are examples like this. Don't be afraid. It has reached the swing low pivot. Yeah, we've had one here. And I could have bought here too, but I wasn't paying attention. But when you get better, you see the pivots and you keep on entering and exiting the market. You see, for example, this candlestick here gives me a descending signal, but don't be deceived by it because the swing lows here have been completed above each other. But because I have a very powerful pivot at the top, I know that I'm going to have a downward elasticity. So I shouldn't take any orders at this point. Don't be greedy and don't rush into it. It's going to go further than this one or that one. If it goes further than this one, you should sell, and if it goes further than that one, you should buy. The correction here has been over, but we have to wait for it to be completed, right? And you said you have to wait for 5 minutes. Excuse me. It's going to open this from the top, but please wait because there's a possibility that you have two candlesticks in a row like this. So this is your continuation candlestick, and it's going to come up to here, these pivots that are there. Excuse me. You have two or three reversal candlesticks there. Does this count as a swing low for us? If it goes back, that's right. But it's a weak reversal candlestick because it's inside the trend. I'm talking about this one. This one? No. The other one. Yes, this one. Yes, this is a reversal candlestick. This is a reversal candlestick. You see in here, this is a continuation candlestick, but you have to wait until this area here is opened. If it does, you can start buying. But up until it hasn't opened this, you shouldn't do that because it was completed inside the pivot. I told you that if that happens, we're going to have an engulfing candlestick. So don't be deceived by them. Be careful. If you make a little bit of a mistake, you can lose a lot of money. The next candlestick, I don't have you. I didn't hear. I said that the next candlestick, which is an engulfing candlestick, is going to go up, right? Yes, because we have an upward elasticity. That's a very good point. It's going to go up. Because 1 minute later, the hourly time frame is going to, the candlestick is going to be completed. And then also in the 4-hour time frame is going to be completed as well. And it's giving me an ascending signal. But we have to wait. In the last minutes, a lot of things could change. And it has happened so many times. You shouldn't rush into it. This is your descending candlestick here. So I think it's going to come down to here at the tip of your pivot. So this candlestick is completed now. So this is an ascending candlestick, but the pivot is above that. So it's a very dangerous zone. If I didn't have these and this trend was above this other trend, I could have started buying easily. But we have these pivots here and the price is stuck there and it wasn't able to go further than this area. But so it's telling me that the elasticity is upward. The candlestick was completed as an ascending signal in my hourly and 4-hour time frame. You see that it has a little bit of errors. But the shadow and the body are the same height, so that is the error. So these are very complex points. But I shouldn't rush into it. I shouldn't make the decisions ahead of the candlestick. Excuse me. Isn't it important if the shadow, the lower or upper shadow is longer? In what candlestick? No, you see, if your candlestick is descending, it's at the bottom of the chart, the lower shadow has to be longer. You see, I told you, well, let me find the example. Maybe I haven't understood this well. I will repeat that for you. Let me find it. You see, this candlestick was completed like this. I have highlighted it for you, and you have to memorize it. It was completed like this. In the descending trend, the upper shadow is longer. So it has to be longer than the lower shadow, right? No, it's possible that in one direction we don't even have a shadow. I told you. Sometimes it doesn't even have a shadow from one side. So the upper shadow is longer, right? Look, you see, generally the body has to be longer than the shadows. Our criteria is the body, not the shadows. It has to be long. You see, for example, sometimes it doesn't even have a lower shadow. So if the body is big, the shadows don't matter, right? Yes. You see, if your body is long and the shadows are small, that is your 50-50 candlestick. So what if the upper and lower shadows are the same height? Yes, that is a kind of a sideways candlestick. But in here, the upper shadow has to be longer than the lower one. If you see any shadows there, the upper shadow has to be longer than the lower shadow. So it's two situations. Thank you. Okay, for example, here, this candlestick that was completed in your 4-hour time frame, in here, we have to have a reversal or a swing high candlestick in our 78 or 89 level. So it can be without any shadows, right? Yes, that would be your 50-50 candlestick. That if it's inside the pivot, it's engulfing, and if it's not, it's continuation. Okay, I got it. You see, the market is all about reputations. If you have pivots here, there's a 50% chance of an engulfing candlestick, so you have to wait or put a sell stop below that. That if it opens that, it's going to be continuation. And after that, you can gain 50 pips of profit. So you're not going to start taking orders and gain 10 or 20 pips of profit, but you're stressed out. You see, for example, in this example here, the one that I told you about, you have to wait for it to be opened. Or for example, in here, this candlestick was completed inside the pivot. Wait for it to be opened and gives you a continuation candlestick. And if that happens, it's going to continue its movement up until here. So in here, we've had a decline. So very easily you can see that. You have it at the moment in the market. You see that? You've had a decline here. It's going to come down. You see that? So it's something that always happens in the market. You have to memorize it. It goes and reaches the pivot at this area. Excuse me. No, you see, you have to memorize these candlesticks. If you want to learn all about the candlesticks, you have to practice so much that you get professionals. You have to see them so many times so that you will memorize them. That is the only way you will get professional. I'm showing you the live examples that are happening right now in the market. So you have to practice up until you reach a point where you memorize all of them. So this is your continuation candlestick. And this is the pivot there. Right here. That is our pivot. And the swing low there. So you shouldn't take this risk. Because I think it's only one pip here. Yes. So you shouldn't start selling because of this one pip. But in longer time frames, for example, in 5-minute time frames, you have a descending signal. And the pivot is right there. You see, in here it has to be retraced because it has nearly reached the bottom of the swing high that we have. You can take orders here. Take a buy order here and exit at this point, at these pivots. Why did I tell you that? Because it has to reach this place. If it opens the shadow here, you're going to have a decline. So you can do scalp trading in this area. Any questions? Excuse me. Is 50-50 candlestick the same as continuation candlestick? If it opens it, it's continuation. If it doesn't, it's engulfing. Excuse me. Based on what the candlestick looks like, can we say that in the 30 minutes time frame, we don't have good candlesticks and they're not standard? Is that a correct analysis or not? You see, if you're working on the hourly time frame, usually, not all the time, but usually, the first 30 minutes you're going to have an ascending candlestick, and the second half, the second 30 minutes, you're going to have a descending one. So it's going to give you another candlestick. So the thing that you said is true. But usually the candlesticks are half of the time up and half of the time down. But that is what usually happens, not all the time. Excuse me. Can you review the factors about the today's candlestick? What chart were we working on? Oh, right here. You see, this candlestick has a big body, and if it's formed as a white candlestick or as a descending candlestick, the upper shadow has to be shorter than the body, and if it's any other shadows at the other side, it has to be longer. If it's formed in a downtrend, the next candlestick gives us a descending signal up until the pivot. So you should look for the pivots and locate them. But if it's formed in the uptrend or at the top of the market, and please pay attention that this candlestick, this one here, the one that gives you an ascending signal, has to, if it's a descending candlestick, the bottom of it has to be, it's very important, has to be completed lower from the previous candlestick, because we've had examples. Sometimes the bottom of this candlestick is completed above the previous one, and that makes it unreliable. And we've had an example in one of the charts. I think it was in the pound, in the pound dollar, in a longer time frame. I think it was in the weekly time frame. You're right. It was right here. You see, exactly the candlestick looks like this, but it's just smaller. They're similar. They look exactly like each other, but this one is smaller. So in here, this candlestick was completed above the body of this one, but it had to be completed below that. So it was completed inside the previous one. But in here, you should pay attention that in the bottom of your candlestick was completed below the previous one. So that makes it reliable, and it has all of the factors, so it has caused a downward movement. So we should be careful about these candlesticks, right? Yes. You see, sometimes you see that the candlesticks might look similar, but they don't perform the same. That is because all of these factors, they have to be performed. In the shorter time frames, I was telling you about these examples. For example, in here, I will put my stop loss right there. Because if this is opened, I'm going to have a decline. So that is a descending movement. It's going to come down to here up until the swing low there. That is why the reason why I have put my stop loss there is that my shadow is this. So I should put my stop loss at the tip of the shadow, because if that is open, it means that your price has been opened and the candlestick has been faded out. So it's going to decline even more. But there are more examples that the price has reached this shadow and then it has gone back up. So you see, in here, I gave you a warning about this candlestick. The shadow and the body here are at the same height, so that ruins the reliability. So you should keep that in mind, that it's going to be faded out. So please draw your Fibonacci in these charts. You see, this is below the 89 level and it has broken the 78 level. So that means that it's going to reach 89 level. So this has to be faded out. So this is how you should check the factors. But sometimes you're doing scalp trading, and so you should look at every single one of the candlesticks and pivots. For example, this is giving me an ascending signal, but it is going to come up to here only. It's not going to go any further than that. After that, we're going to have a decline. So I shouldn't buy here. I should exit and put my stop loss there. So now that it has opened it, it's going to decline. So this is a descending continuation candlestick in my 15 minutes time frame. So now that I have lost, I have to make up for that with this method. So the $30 or $40 that I have lost are going to be made up for by this method. You see, you have to update your mind. Sometimes this happens. The trend could be an uptrend for 1 or 2 hours, but then it changes. But our mind wasn't updated, and we keep on thinking about buying because we kept on buying for 1 or 2 hours. But this is something that everyone has this problem. This is a very common mistake. I think we should be stronger mentally. Yes, exactly. Okay, so I have a meeting right now, so are there any questions? You see, this is your continuation candlestick because there are no pivots on the way and it's going to come down here. Don't be afraid when you see this. Excuse me. Uh,
شما
we're
خود
not
ضرر
afraid.
یا بچه ضرر دادن میدونن چی میگم. چون ضرر دادن میترسن.
Some people are afraid because they have
ترسیده شدن
lost
دیگه.
money.
ترک و باید ترس از خودتون دور کنه. حالا با
Yeah,
راهی که
but you
رفتین
shouldn't be
مثلا 1 سال
stressed
2
out.
سال 5 سال 10 سال رفتین اشتباه بوده. حالا که خیلیاتون
Sometimes
هم
something that you
هستین
do
خیلی
for
موارد رو
5
بلدین
or 10
و
years
تجارت
was
خوبی
wrong.
میکنن و استراتژی خوبی
But some of
دارین.
you have many good
موفق هم بودین یه زمانی
strategies
ولی
and you
خب
were
باز
successful at one
میبینیم تو
point,
چیزایی
but
خطا
then you have
دارین.
made
خطاها تو
mistakes.
مواردها بوده.
It is possible.
مثلا میگه الان
For
راه شما
example,
میتونید اینجا فروش
you could have
بزنید.
sold
اینجا
here
مثلا
easily,
پیوتش کجای آر2 پیوت بوده
and
دیگه.
you've had pivots
همین
here.
چند تیکه رو
So you
میتونستی
could
سود
have
بگیری.
gained this profit.
هم دقیقا همین چند تیکه رو میتونستی سود بگیری. ولی خب آقا این تایما رو چک کن
So you should
مرتب. من
check
چرا
the
وقتی که با
time
شما میشیم
frames.
تو کلاس میشینم تایما رو مرتب چک میکنم.
You see that I keep on checking the time frames in the class as well.
متشکرم. خب دوستان سوالی
So,
نیستش.
are there
من
any
جلسه‌ام دیر
questions?
شده.
I have to go to a
ویدیو
meeting.
رو براتون
I
امشب
will
هم
send you
می‌ذاریم.
the
خب تموم
video.
شده. یک لینک. بذار من ویدیو رو استاپ کنم.